Johnny Murray here, and welcome to another review. Now, today we're going to be reviewing Mass Effect. Now, this is a game I've been looking forward to my review for years because, spoiler alert, I've never played Mass Effect. Up until a week ago, I've never touched Mass Effect. I really knew nothing about Mass Effect. I never looked into Mass Effect. It was just a thing that I was aware of, but I never took the time or effort to learn about it or try it. And I finally pulled the trigger. I finally bit the bullet, and I finally played Mass Effect like last week. I played it last week. I finished it last night, so my review is kind of like fresh off my mind. And yeah, so we're going to be talking about that. I do plan on playing the second one and third one, just so you know, but that will be something I do later. But if you guys love gaming, if you guys love EA, whatever, Mass Effect, you guys love RPGs, Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever, third-party, Nintendo, I don't care, Nintendo, consider subscribing, share with your friends. I really do appreciate any support you guys give me, especially the one on this video. But let's get talking about Mass Effect. So like I said, I've never played this game, and the interesting about this is I've heard from so many people over and over again through social media, through friends who have played it, through just strangers I've talked to about video games. So many people have said Mass Effect is one of the greatest video game franchises of all time. And I never really understood why. Like, I know the game had to deal with like choices and like decision making, and I figured, okay, yeah, I could see where that's really cool, but it never clicked why is this game so beloved? And that was just something I had to play the game to find out. It was really something that, honestly, now after playing the game, it really is something that you can't truly explain why it's so great. And I guess that is kind of a spoiler warning. I do think this game is absolutely great. This game is awesome. Mass Effect is what I originally see. That's how you know I didn't know anything about it. I thought it was a first-person game. I thought it was a first-person shooter. It is a third-person shooter RPG. I beat it in about like 15 hours. I did a couple side quests explored a little bit, but not too much. I did complete it in about 15 hours, and this is a very interesting thing. So I'm just gonna give my overall thoughts. When I first started playing the game, I got about 3 hours in, and I'll be honest, I wasn't feeling it. I was like, man, I'm not really liking the gameplay. I'm not really liking how dated it feels, because it does feel dated. And I wasn't really invested into anything yet. And I even got to the point about 3 hours in where I was like, I don't even know if I want to finish this. I kind of just want to go straight to 2, because I've heard 2 is the best one. And so I was really debating that, because I really wasn't feeling the game within the first 3 hours. But I kept on going. I kept on pushing myself. And I'm glad I did, because what I found out was, while yes, I'm still, even after beating the game, not the biggest fan of the gameplay. We'll get into that. The story and the characters and the dialogue and everything you do in terms of narrative in this game is one of the best in gaming in general, period. Now, before we go any further, is it my favorite story? No. But I think in terms of storytelling, in terms of being able to make choices in the game, I do think it is one of the best. You know, do I prefer an underdog story like Spider-Man? Do I prefer a internal moral conflict like Ghost of Tsushima? Do I prefer this horror, save my little brother from all these rats type story? Yeah, kinda. Instead of just a story about big baddie saving the world before an invasion takes place and it makes your entire race extinct. Yeah, stuff like that. But the way this game narratively unfolds, the way this game narratively develops, the way these characters are used is unlike any other game I've ever played. And I think that is why people love this game. And that's why I now love this game. Let me jump to what I don't like. And that is, number one, I'm gonna give it a little cutback, but I do think the game does feel dated in terms of visuals, in terms of voice acting, in terms of just the presentation of the game. There's a lot of moments where like a background dialogue is saying something like closing door, decontamination starting in 3 2 cut. It just like cuts at like random points, and the presentation is really weird. Whenever you finish like a big boss fight, it kind of just like instantly cuts to him just lying on the ground dead. It's like, okay, they didn't like even give him any kind of like emotional cutscene of him dying or anything. But I do think the presentation is a little dated, and I do think the voice acting is a little dated. Credit to the voice actor. I think the voice actors did fine. I just think for the time and the presentation of the game, it does feel a little dated, especially comparing it to like what we've seen of Dragon Age: The Veilguard so far. You can tell it came out a long time ago. And then the gameplay, I'm not a fan of the gameplay. I've just come to that conclusion. I think I definitely got more used to it, and I started to enjoy it later on, especially with a lot of the abilities and just a lot of the skills that you unlock, because I do like the progression system in this game, the different loadouts, the different skill trees, but it's not even a skill tree. It's just like you use upgrade points to upgrade a bunch of different stats. I really like that. I just think the whole running, getting behind cover, shooting, switching weapons, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I'm not the biggest fan of it. It just didn't really click with me personally. To me, it kind of felt like and I know people are going to be really mad I say this, like a cheaper Gears of War. You hold A to run to get to behind cover, and then you like shoot, and then you just have to wait for your gun to like reload or like reset cooldown. It really does feel like that to me. But at the end of the day, I do think it's okay. It's not bad. It's not bad gameplay. Is it gameplay I love that I would be like, yo, if this game had like Mass Effect gameplay, it'd be so awesome. No, I'm never going to say that. You ain't never going to catch me saying I want this game to have gameplay like Mass Effect. It's just not that game. If anything, I'm going to be saying I wish Mass Effect had gameplay like this. But at the same time, I don't think it's makes the game bad. It doesn't help the game any, in my opinion, and that really is my biggest criticism about Mass Effect. I also do think the pacing is a little bit off in terms of gameplay wise, like in terms of completing a mission wise. I think story wise the pacing is fantastic. Anything story wise, let me just get this out the way. Anything story or narrative wise about Mass Effect, low-key I think might be perfect. I think it is so good. It is fantastic. But I do think just the gameplay and the way the game was built, level design wise, combat, progression, I do think that is where I just have to give my opinion on it. And yeah, I do think there are some missions that drag on a little bit too far. I do think there are some design aspects when you're exploring like a city, they really don't tell you where to go, and it's kind of annoying because there's not really much to do except for talk to some NPCs. But you're not trying to talk to every NPC. At least I'm not trying to talk to every single NPC. However, I do love one thing I do love is, and this was one of my favorite things to do actually, because the narrative was so good. After every mission, when you're back on your ship, you can then go and have the next chapter of dialogue and character building with all these different characters. And I love doing that. Just going to talk to all my crewmates after every mission, because you just have such great conversations. You had to make really interesting decisions when talking. The romance options, the beef you have with some crewmates. It really is just really well written. But yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about the characters. Characters are awesome. Now, there are some characters I didn't quite get as invested or interested in. For me, the characters I really enjoyed were, of course, Commander Shepard, the main character, the guy you play, or girl, depending on who you choose. I chose guy. And then Liara, Ash, Rex, I think. Wait, was it? Rex. And then Talia, or Italia, or I don't exactly remember her name. The like kind of like robotic lady a little bit. And then the alien in the blue, I forget his name as well. The alien in the blue, and then you have Caden. I wasn't a big fan of those three, but I was a big fan of everyone else. And it's probably because the way, just in my playthrough, those were the characters I focused on. Maybe if I focused on the other characters, I would have liked them more. I'm sure that's how it is. I'm sure it's a game like that. I know the replay value on this game is immaculate. But yeah, I really enjoyed these characters to the point where, like I said, after every mission, I just wanted to go to talk to them to see where their character arcs were going. And that's something I have to applaud it for, because a lot of games these days don't do that, where I genuinely just want to go have a conversation. There's a lot of games where I just want to skip the conversations. And this game was the opposite. I wanted more. And that's crazy to say. But yeah, Mass Effect is really, really good when it comes to its characters. Like I said, I touched on it a little bit, but I'll just go ahead and say, visually, I think the game is really good for its time. Like, you have to consider this is a remaster. I played the Legendary Edition of the game, by the way. For a game that came out like at the beginning of 360 days, I definitely think this game looks good for its time. I love a lot of the environments. I love a lot of the designs. I think the cutscenes and everything are really, really good, as well as the music. The music is really, really good. A standout for me, actually. I could definitely see where this might be one of my favorite games when it comes to music. But yeah, when it just comes to the gameplay and sometimes the visuals, sometimes the level design, sometimes the choices on how you go through the story, I think that is a little bit questionable and things I have some complaints about it for. But when it comes to a lot of its quality aspects, like its story, like its music, like its pacing, like its like customization and leveling system and progression, RPG systems, it's just absolutely phenomenal. It is so unbelievably like interesting to me how there is a game that I am not really the biggest fan of its gameplay, but yet I love the game so much because one aspect is selling it so hard. It is carrying it so hard. Like, there was a point where I told myself, I'm like, I don't see how I could put this any lower than a 9 out of 10. Because this story is so good. But after really thinking about it and where I would compare it to other games, I am going to end out giving it an 8 out of 10. And I am going to give it a tier. I think it's an A tier game. I think it's an A tier game, but it's an 8 out of 10 in my eyes. I know some might say that sounds like B tier. No, I think it's A tier because I think it's really, really good. Like, I think it's very, very good. And don't get me wrong, 8 out of 10 is a phenomenal score as well. To me, this is the definition of an A tier game. It has so much quality, and it has so many things that have impacted so many other games and that are going to stick with you, live in your head rent-free, that I do think this is a must-play. For anybody who just loves playing games, this is a must-play. And I cannot wait to play Mass Effect 2 because I've heard that one's the best, and I've heard 3 is also better than the first one. So, we'll have to see where that goes. But let me know what you guys think of Mass Effect down below in the comment section. I would love to talk about it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Johnny, we're out.